What you need in the building, what's happening, people? This is what you need on my channel. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget you can like, share, subscribe, and donate via Western Union or MoneyGram. All right, as you can see, we're going to talk about some upcoming fights, and we're going to give some predictions on some upcoming fights. It's going to be good. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about each of the guys that are specialized to do what they do in these upcoming fights. And we're also going to talk about some current events. As you can see by the title, we're looking at Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. So let me give you a breakdown first. Oh, in addition, if you guys want to join as a guest on the stream, chop it up with me right now, you can do so. The link is right below there. All right. But we're talking about Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. What are we talking about right now? Just want to get some of these things out the way. We're going to talk some boxing, y'all. We're going to talk some boxing. So, this fight takes place at lightweight. And it's a hell of a fight. Hope you guys are doing well in this COVID season. COVID is no joke. I'm just waiting for you guys to come in. All right. Again, shout out to each and every one of you. If you want to hop on and chop it up with me on the stream right now, feel free to do so. I am what you need. You're watching my channel, and hopefully you're going to enjoy this segment and you enjoy these sessions. So the first thing we're looking at is a prediction between Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz. All right, we're going to talk about Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz, repping my country, Trinidad and Tobago. This is where I am. This is where I live. Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. We're going to unpack that. Shout out to 78 Sports TV Jr. Jojo Diaz and Cruz are both getting stopped in humiliating and devastating fashion, said 78 Sports TV Jr. Okay. Shout out to you, brother. I see you're passionate about boxing. Explain why you think so. I'm going to tell you right now what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this categorically. Devin Haney is not stopping Jojo Diaz. That is just not going to happen in this upcoming fight. I don't believe that, at least. And I'm going to give you my reasons very succinctly. So, Jojo Diaz has a lot of experience. In fact, in terms of the fighters who are at lightweight right now, in terms of top quality experience, I think the only lightweight that has probably anything comparable to what Jojo Diaz has done is Vasily Lomachenko. Jojo Diaz has a lot of skill and a lot of experience. Even in his fight against Gary Russell Jr., which was at featherweight, Jojo wasn't outclassed. He wasn't outclassed by Gary. Gary was throwing a lot of hands. He was throwing a lot of, he had a lot of tempo. He had a lot of activity, but not much of his stuff was landing on Jojo. And Jojo was placing those body shots beautifully on Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. won on activity and points. But if you go and watch the Jojo Diaz versus Gary Russell Jr. fight, and Jojo did get hit with shots and stuff, you'll see that Jojo is one of those guys who really places his inside work is really, really good. He's a master at fighting on the inside. And also Jojo is also excellent at fighting on the outside. He can jab and stuff, but really likes to put in the hard work on the inside, which is why he beat Tevin Farmer. So Jojo Diaz is a hell of a fighter, and he knows how to close the distance. He's a southpaw. He can box. He boxes very well as well. He can box on the outside, inside. He can do it all. And you saw it against, particularly against Fortuna. Fortuna, you saw him do a little bit of everything. When Fortuna hurt him, I think it was in the 5th or 6th round or something, you saw him start to box on the back foot and how well he could do it. Bob, weave, slip, slide, everything. He does the whole 9 yards. Has old school trainers that trained him. 78 Sports TV Junior says Jojo is a bum. Haney's the best at 135. That is not true. Jojo is no bum, clearly. Jojo has gone through guys like Gary Russell Jr., Tevin Farmer, Javier Fortuna. He's also faced was an undefeated upcoming Russian guy. Can't remember his name right now. Fought to a draw, but I thought he won the fight. He just has to watch out for his stamina so that he doesn't slow down. But Jojo's a hell of a fighter. Jojo was mostly blocking Gary Russell Jr.'s shots in the beginning, and he was waiting for Gary. He was trying to work the body on waiting for Gary to slow down. Gary never slowed down. Gary was in great condition, which is something that Devin Haney won't do either. He won't slow down. But if Devin Haney thinks he can just box Jojo Diaz on the outside, Jojo Diaz ain't Canelo Alvarez. Okay, you see how Canelo was outboxed for 10 rounds. He was having difficulty putting away or even touching really Caleb Plant. That ain't gonna happen here. Jojo's gonna make Devin fight. Devin will have to fight Jojo on the inside. Jojo knows how to close the distance. He knows how to trick you in so many different ways. He's a very clever fighter, and how he puts together his stuff so he can get to the inside to do his work. That's why I thought Ryan Garcia would have gotten dusted by Jojo Diaz. Now, Devin Haney could very well lose this fight as well, but I don't think so. Devin Haney going to be on his P's and Q's. If he can get past Jojo, here's the thing. He would be the guy that beat, I think, the most complete fighter at lightweight, because Jojo is the most complete fighter at lightweight. Jojo can do it all. He can fight on the outside, can fight on the inside. He's a boxer by nature. He places his punches well. He's a great body puncher. He's a great head puncher. He puts together beautiful combinations. Tevin Farmer's defense could not hold off Jojo Diaz, because Jojo Diaz knows how to break the shell. I mean, Jojo Diaz is an incredible fighter. That's all I can say. He's a very incredible fighter. The only thing I say is that he would stay dedicated to the sport. Joe, you could put Jojo in with anybody. You can put Jojo in with a welterweight, and Jojo will handle his story, because Jojo's got defense. He's got everything. He's got everything. Yes, he gets hit at times, but that's because, but if you look at it, he's never getting hit with money punches. Like a guy doesn't really hit. And even if he does get hit with a money punch, Jojo's never been dropped really. Jojo has a good chin anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And he can fight with a busted eye. It doesn't matter. He fights through anything. He keeps his defense tighter, because he's offensively minded. Sometimes he gets hit with punches, but really he's quite elusive himself. Bob, weave, dip, slip, slide, parry, roll, punch, block. He also uses the shell, old school fighting. So Jojo Diaz is a serious problem for anybody in any division. I think Devin Haney's really got his hands full in this. And if he can get past Jojo Diaz, now let me just say this. In terms of skills, the guy who's the most skilled in that division right now is Jojo Diaz. The guy with the most experience and skills in at 135 right now is Jojo Diaz. Devin Haney, he can do a little bit of work on the inside, but he's not really an inside fighter yet, even though he did some good work against Jorge Linares. But Jorge Linares, you know, he don't really got good pivot work. Jojo got excellent pivot work. He work around you, throwing combinations, placing his shots very, very well. Ask Gary Russell Jr. He knows how Jojo is because Jojo was tagging him up at certain points in the fight. Jojo Diaz's game plan just was bad for Gary Russell Jr. He was waiting for Gary Russell to slow down. He never did. But Jojo can handle his stories. He's got defense. He's got everything. Okay. I'm going to say this again, categorically. Jojo is a more skilled fighter than Canelo Alvarez. I'm going to say it again. Jojo Diaz is a more skilled fighter than Canelo Alvarez. Here's the thing that robs Jojo the wrong way. One, Jojo is not a one-hitter quitter. Two, Jojo tires later on and sometimes in fights. So Jojo has to come in tremendous shape, and he should be fine. Devin Haney don't tire. That's another thing that kind of goes in Devin Haney's favor. This is a big, steep learning curve for Devin Haney, and he will learn that very quickly. This is not a fight where he can just put away Jojo. I don't care how many people you put away in sparring, you know, and how much stronger you've gotten. You're not putting away this guy. I'm just telling you that. Jojo's not a guy that can put away because he's got defense. Yes, he does get hit with shots sometimes, flush. He got a chin, but he does use defense. He does have defense, very respectable defense. So I don't expect Devin Haney to put away Jojo. This is a big step up for Devin Haney. Big step up for Devin Haney. Big. Jojo could spoil this. Jojo could win this fight. Okay. And he's got the experience. He's faced guys like Devin Haney before. And, you know, you got defensive fighters like Tevin Farmer, defensive fighters like Gary Russell Jr. with very, very fast hands, very, very fast feet. And he handled the stories. He did his thing in against them. Yes, he had a bad game plan against Gary Russell Jr., but he handled the stories. You know, he did his thing. He's been moving up in weight classes. So this guy started off at super bantamweight, went up to featherweight next, won a title there. He went up to super featherweight, won a title there, and now he's at lightweight. So this guy is no joke. I'm telling y'all again, Jojo Diaz is no joke. I stand on what I said. I just looked at some footage on him, and I stand on what I said. This is not a jokey fighter. This is not a guy you play games with. This guy can box. He has tricks up his sleeve. He does some interesting things. He's a hard worker as well. He places his punches very well. He's very smart behind his jab and his movements. It's a hard worker. So Jojo Diaz ain't no joke. I'm going to let y'all know that. 78 Sports TV Junior says Jojo will be easy work like Porter. No, bro. Nobody. I disagree with that. I disagree with that 100%. Jojo is much more of a boxer than Sean Porter is, and Sean Porter is a hell of a boxer, and he can do a lot of things. But Jojo Diaz is a hell of a boxer and a hell of an infighter. You know, this is not like I'm not saying that Devin ain't working on his inside game, but the things that Jojo do, Devin don't do on the inside. He don't. Okay, Jojo will throw a 3-4 punch combination and find gaps for each punch. I don't care who you are. He knows how to get by the defense, the shoulder roll defense. So this is me in the orthodox stance. He places punches right underneath here. He gets right up under here. Is his timing really that makes it happen? Because when the guy rolls, he catches you here. He catches you up the center here. Okay, he catches you on the head. He has the overhand rights down pat, and he got the left hooks down pat. He is a bad boy. Jojo Diaz is a bad boy. I mean, I can't tell you, man. He dissects any style. He is a bad boy. His only loss was to Gary Russell Jr. He had a draw with the Russian guy, but I thought he won that fight too. But he got lethargic down to the end. He was beating the guy's ass up, and then he got lethargic down to the end. I think he dropped the guy. I think the guy dropped him or something like that. I can't remember. But ultimately, in the end, Jojo Diaz is no easy task. Of all the opponents that could pull off an upset, Jojo Diaz is that dude. Devin Haney got to be on his P's and Q's, you know, and has to fight Jojo in a smart way to beat Jojo, because Jojo have every single tool in the book to neutralize what Devin Haney would do. So I'm just saying it again. You all heard me saying the praises about Jojo. So when y'all see Jojo in action come Saturday night, y'all know I said this. I said it over and over again. Anybody underestimating Jojo Diaz, y'all in trouble. Okay, I'm gonna tell you 2 reasons why. Teofimo Lopez, they said, underestimated George Kambosos. I don't think so. I think he didn't want to face George Kambosos because he knew he was going to be handling a very difficult situation in his father. And they didn't have no longer Joey Camacho in their corner, so that didn't work well for them either. So they was on their own, and they had no game plan. They had no strategy, really. And Kambosos always had an answer for. He was always coming back with something. I think Jojo Diaz is that kind of fighter, but he's much better than Kambosos in that Jojo can box you on the outside if he needs to. He's got really good pivot work. He cuts those angles really nicely. But on top of that, Jojo is a fighter who, even when you backing him up, he can still slip to the inside and do his thing. Because when I saw Jojo back up Javier Fortuna, a very tough, rough and rugged guy, and he out rough and rugged Javier Fortuna at a higher weight class in his first debut at that higher weight, I knew for a fact, and Javier Fortuna couldn't even outbox him. When he tried to box Jojo, Jojo was still closing the distance and still tagging his ass up. Okay. So I know a lot of people see Devin Haney and rank him very highly and everything, and he's a very avoided fighter. But I'm going to show y'all going to see. Jojo takes on all comers. Jojo don't back down from nobody, and Jojo's going to give Devin Haney hell. But to Devin Haney's credit, you know, he's young, he can learn, he's sharp, he's smart. So to his credit, we will see if he can get by Jojo. If he can get by Jojo, he definitely can get by Kambosos, okay? Because Jojo is a better fighter than Kambosos, I believe. And also, I think Jojo, just because he's coming up in weight don't mean nothing. But I also think that Jojo has more experience, more championship experience than Kambosos. I would love to see Devin Haney versus Kambosos, of course. But I just think that Jojo is I mean, I'll sing the praises about Jojo every single time. And I do not believe Jojo is going to get humiliated. Jojo will get humiliated just like Plant. Plant wasn't humiliated. That's the point. Plant wasn't humiliated. Plant was a boxer like Devin Haney. He did his thing, and he did it for, 10 rounds. Did his thing for 10 rounds. You know what I mean? But he didn't have the experience of when you get dropped, what do you do? He didn't know what to do there, and that worked against him. But I had him winning the fight. He was winning the fight up to the point where he got stopped. So it is what it is. Wasn't that Kentucky, of course. So I mean, that's me. That's why I'm just telling you my scorecard. I don't know what the judges had. I don't know if they had it close or what. But Jojo Diaz, you're gonna hear me talk about Jojo Diaz a lot because the skill set that Jojo brings to the table is an impeccable skill set. It's an incredible skill set. And y'all gonna see when he gets in the ring. Once Jojo is not lethargic, he learned from the Gary Russell Jr. fight, so he's gonna apply something a much better strategy against Devin Haney. No matter if Devin can move as much as he wants around the ring, Jojo know how to cut off the ring. He knows how to handle you. And if Devin Haney hurts Jojo or anything in a better way, Jojo knows how to box. He knows how to flip the script. It's kind of like anyway, y'all see what I'm talking about. Now, the thing that Devin has on his side, of course, is the youth, the reach, the length, you know, the skills. He's got great skills as well. But y'all sleep on Jojo because you know why people sleep on Jojo? People feel Jojo don't have no pop. And then on top of that, you know, people say, well, this guy beat Jojo or this guy, you know, no, man, don't sleep on Jojo. Jojo is one of those unsung guys, and he's hungry as well. And he wants to do it for his kid. So hopefully Jojo does what he needs to do. But Jojo is the guy with the experience coming into this fight. He's been there, done that. Devin Haney's yet to be there and don't do that. So this is more of a test for Devin Haney. This is a step-up fight for Devin Haney. Big step-up fight for Devin Haney. Big step-up fight. You know, who's the best lightweight in the lightweight division right now? The sleeper is Jojo. Y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna see. And yet, the thing about it is y'all thinking Devin Haney gonna blast him because he's not a true lightweight. He came up from the lower weight classes. He's slow. He's sluggish. He's not slow. That's the first thing. He does fade. He does fade in the later rounds. Even though in certain fights, like the Javier Fortuna fight, I didn't see him fade at all. So I think he used to fade, and he didn't fade against Tevin Farmer either. So it tells me, one, he better be up for the fight. I hope he's training and conditioning himself for the fight. I'm pretty sure he is. And two, he probably had to lose all that weight. So when he was losing all that weight, he would fatigue in the later rounds. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what really is up. But ultimately, in the end, I got JoJo either winning by upset. He may pull up the upset if Haney ain't on his AA game, you know, really trying to make adjustments and really trying to respond to JoJo, you know, and they didn't do their homework right. JoJo gonna beat him. All right, that's what I'm saying. This is gonna be a good fight. Devin Haney's gonna get a run for his money in this fight. I guarantee you that. If he's not up to it, like Tio wasn't up to it with Kambosos, he gonna get beat. And this is a great matchup. This is a sleeper fight. I'm gonna say it again. This is a sleeper fight. This is a sleeper fight. It's going to live up to exactly what I said. It's a sleeper fight. All right. The best fight of the weekend, JoJo versus Devin Haney. All right. Shout out to 78 Sports TV Junior. All right, let's go on. But what I'm gonna say, there's one more thing I want to say about Jojo Diaz, because I'm gonna say it again. Jojo is a better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. He can do more things than Canelo Alvarez. Trust me on this. All right. Jojo is a better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. But anyway, Saturday night will show me to be correct. I'm very confident about this one. I've looked at JoJo. I look at a lot of footage of him. Yes, he can get slow and sloppy later down in the fight. So he has to make sure he is well conditioned so he can make it to that. But he'd been crisp for the last two fights that he had. I think he was been pretty sharp and pretty crisp. You know, he was pretty crisp against Gary Russell Jr., even though Gary Russell Jr. was throwing a hell of a lot more punches and stuff. All right, let me talk about Pitbull, Tank versus Pitbull Cruz. All right. Now, Pitbull Cruz is a Manny Pacquiao fighter. He's under Pacquiao Promotions. Pacquiao Promotions don't sign no slouch. Pacquiao Promotions don't sign slouches. You know who else is under Pacquiao Promotions? John Real Casimiro. So John Pitbull Cruz, he ain't no slouch. He ain't no slouch. He's strong. He's a big dude for the weight class, for lightweight. He's a big, strong dude. He took out sharp worn Diego Magdaleno, but he showed he could handle southpaws. And he destroyed him within the first round, as he was supposed to. I've seen some footage of him also against some other fighters. He's very, very strong. You're not just gonna chin check him and get him out of there. That's not happening. He's strong. It uses the right technique. He keeps his head down. He don't keep his chin up in the air, and he's technically sound. Now, Tank is a hell of a lot sharper than Cruz is, but Cruz is a hell of a lot stronger, and he's a pressure fighter. He brings the heat. He brings the steam. He brings the pressure. He don't fight going backwards. Only fights going forwards. And he will bring the pressure. He kind of like remind me, he's not, but his attitude and tenacity remind me of a Mike Tyson, a pit bull. He's very, very voracious. Looks very, very strong. And he uses a lot of hooks, but he does smartly stay behind his jab, and he does box a little bit. He's nowhere near Gervonta Tank Davis's skill level in boxing, but you know, he's big and he's strong. So that's big and strong means something. So let's see now. Tank pretty much dropped, you know, welterweights and shit. Tank has sharp, cracking power. Okay, he can punches as hard as the heavyweights. Okay, but even so, and I don't know how easy a target Pitbull Cruz will be, because he does stay behind the high guard when he's coming to you, and he does pop his jab. Fundamentally sound, but he just be strong. The key here is he's strong. Okay. And he does finish his opponents sometimes, not all the time. He don't always finish them. Can he be outboxed? Probably very easily. Because he's just fundamentally sound. You know, keep his chin tucked and all the things. He do all the right things. Okay, so it's not as easy as people think for Tank to just knock him out. He's not he's not a guy that's just coming in to get knocked out. Let's just put it that way. He's from a very good company, Manny Pacquiao's company. So this is not some sacrificial lamb. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. He's gonna be hungry as could be. He hungry for that championship title that Tank has and the status Tank has. He's very, very hungry. He comes from a very humble background in Mexico. So you know this boy motivated. Now, these are very dangerous things. Okay. Now Tank, he got one hit of quitter power. He's a bad boy. He can knock you out senseless. But I think in this fight, Tank is actually going to fight more going backwards than going forwards. Now, if he hurts Pitbull Cruz, it's a wrap, right? He hurts him, it's over. But if Pitbull Cruz can take what Tank can dish out, which is possible. I've seen Tank dish out things to people in the amateurs. They took it and they kept coming. Okay. I've seen him in fights like that. And to Tank's credit, he still won those fights because he could box. Pitbull Cruz is going to be the shorter guy. So Tank is fighting a guy that's smaller, shorter. And you know, Pitbull Cruz, he crouch and he go real low. And he really offloads the leather. He's not the fastest puncher in the world, but he got decent speed and he got hella power and he's very, very strong. Let me say that again. Look at the exercise he do on his neck. Look at his neck. He's very, very strong. He ain't joke strong. And when he's not training, he's like a fat boy. He's kind of like Tank. Hence, Tank versus Pitbull. So this is going to be a very, very exciting fight. And I have no idea exactly how it's going to go because I haven't had enough footage of Pitbull, but I've seen Pitbull in action, and Pitbull Pitbull's pretty bad. You know, he's strong and everything. Now, he's slower than Tank. You know, the question, this is kind of like a Rolly Romero fight in a way, except Rolly Romero, I think, has a different kind of defense to Pitbull. But this is going to be an action-packed fight. Much more action-packed fight because Pitbull, throws a lot of punches and he goes to the body to break you down and get you out of there. And he has some nasty body shots and he catch you with a headshot. You know, you can put your lights out. So this is going to be a hell of a lot more exciting fight than the Rolly Romero fight because Rolly Romero don't really throw a lot of punches, but he does have a lot of power. So it's going to be much. I don't know how long it'll last, but I can tell you, Pitbull ain't coming to lay down. He coming to do his thing. Tank obviously is not coming to lay down. Tank is not taking Pitbull lightly, and he shouldn't. And you know, if he gets a spectacular knockout in this fight, that would be great. But I don't think Pitbull coming in to be no sacrificial lamb. I don't think so. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. When a fighter makes up their mind, I'm gonna die in this ring, but I got to win. It's a totally different mindset, right? Pitbull's never been stopped. Okay, he's been outboxed, but he's never been stopped. Okay, so you got to understand that there's a different mentality that Tank is facing up to. This is not Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios was a long range guy. This is a compact, strong as fighter. Shut your mouth, fighter. Okay, he's strong. He's strong. I cannot emphasize that again. I'm going to repeat myself. He is strong. So don't think Tank's just going to get him out of there just like that. He might. Because Tank got dynamite in his hands. Pitbull also got my dynamite in his hands. He's voracious. There's a reason they call him Pitbull. You know what I'm saying? He's a Pitbull. The Tank is going up against a Pitbull. Manny Pacquiao signed this dude. What's his name? Sean, whatever his name is. He signed this dude for a reason. Okay? For a reason. So do not underestimate these opponents. Now, I don't know too much about Pitbull. Like I said before, I know he was on Showtime. He had some sensational knockouts on Showtime, but I don't know too much about him. He might bring to the table other skills we didn't know he had. I don't know much about him. but he sounds smart. When they interview him, he says a lot of smart things. So I'm thinking this dude is not just what we see on the surface. So we're going to see what game plan they have against Tank, how they're going to protect themselves from Tank's power, and how this fight might actually draw and go a little longer than all of us think. They think this is just some guy. No, this guy's ranked. And this guy, he actually has been working his way up the ladder, okay? So he ain't Pitbull. There's a reason they call him Pitbull starts, and people in Mexico love him. And there's a reason why he called Pitbull. And I believe we're going to see why when he faces Tank. Tank's talking about boxing him, which tells me Tank knows this kid is strong as hell. He is a lightweight and a big one. And on top of that, you know, you can't just go in there and try and bang with somebody who's strong like that. That's stupid. Okay. So I think he's going to box him, figure him out, and then either he's going to look to break him down, because Tank will break you down to the body or whatever. He's going to look to break him down if he can. If he can't break him down, he's going to keep on boxing him. But if he can break him down, right, then he'll look for the stoppage. So if I had to give a careful estimate, not knowing everything about Pitbull Cruz, because I don't know much about him, but the fact that Manny Pacquiao and they signed him means there's something there that we don't know about, right? I don't know much about Pitbull Cruz, but I'm very weary, especially with the matchups we're getting these days and the upsets that are in the air all the time. I'm very weary of making any pronouncement saying Tank's just going to blow through him. I see he's slow. I see he's slower than Tank. Tank's way faster than him, but I don't mean nothing. I've seen this dude doing neck exercises. I look at this guy's neck and I say, this guy don't just get knocked out like that. Nobody's knocking this guy just like that. He come back, he keep his chin up. So I know almost immediately this is tough. And Mexicans are known for having tough heads. You try to target their head all the time, they're not going nowhere. Okay, he has a compact style. He's a compact dude. You know, maybe Tank catch him with a body shot. Maybe he loosen him up, draw him down to the body, come up top to the head. Maybe something like that takes him out. But it's not just going to happen like that. Tank ain't taking him out in the first round. Let's just say that. The early rounds, Tank's going to try and feel him out, figure out what he do well, set up his angles and stuff, box him, and when the knockout come, it come. You know what I'm saying? That's not a dude you just go in there and get knocked out. He not just going in there and get knocked out. I'm telling you, man, this is a fight of a lifetime. He ain't going in there and getting knocked out. And just look at him. Look at him. Pay attention, man. Them no-neck guys. He another no-neck guy. Tank's a no-neck guy. He's a no-neck guy. There's a reason, man. I'm not saying that I'm being tricked into, I just don't know about this guy enough. And the way how he looked and his mentality and the way how he behaved and the fact that Canelo even backing him to beat Tank. Come on, man. There got to be something. People know about Pitbull. They know about him in Mexico. We don't know about him over here. The last thing my dumb ass gonna do when I'm predicting a fight is say, oh, this guy's an easy touch. I don't know, man. They're Mexicans, man. They can take a headshot. They can take a headshot. You hit him. You think you hit him to the moon or uppercut. Motherfucker still there walking you down. What you gonna do then? What you gonna do then? You hit him a nice, solid headshot again. He ain't going nowhere. Motherfucker still following you and coming at you. What you gonna do then? So those are always, and Mexican fighters are known for that. So that's why Latinos, period. So I'm just saying, and he also, we all know he preparing for the uppercut, but we know Tank ain't gonna use, it's not just the up. Tank got so much skill, man. Tank don't have to come with the uppercut. If ain't the uppercut, come with the right hook. Remember, southpaws have a right hook. Come with the right hook. You know what I'm saying? Shuffle around him if you can. You know what I'm saying? 78 Sports TV says Bumnello is capping. He knows what's going to happen. All right, so let's talk about Canelo. Since that, the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that Canelo is not following Floyd Money Mayweather. And I'm specifically talking about money. All right. I want to talk to y'all about this because I see a lot of people saying, well, Floyd used to do this, so Canelo's following in Floyd's footsteps. And I do know that Floyd's doing something with Gervonta that's a little bit different to what everybody else is doing with Leonard Ellaby and so on. So people could say, well, look what Gervonta doing. He's not even facing them. All right, so I understand that. But here's the thing. In Floyd's career, Floyd ducked and dodged nobody. Nobody. I'm going to explain what I mean. So, for example, Margarito, okay? I'm going to give him his respect, even though he cheated. I'm going to give him his respect. Margarito, the time when Bob Arum wanted Floyd to face Antonio Margarito, and Floyd wanted to face Oscar De La Hoya. And Floyd bought out his contract from Bob Arum. This was right after the Zab Judah fight. Okay? Because Bob had been promising Floyd Oscar De La Hoya. And then when Floyd said, okay, give me the fight, and then Bob would lowball him, and then he would say, no, man, that's too little bit of money. And he would say, no, you guys put too much money, right? So Antonio Margarito wasn't the #1 contender or mandatory of Floyd Mayweather. All right? Floyd never ducked any of his mandatories. Let's make that abundantly clear. Okay? Floyd Mayweather never ducked a mandatory. Somebody who was mandated to face him. He's never ducked it. He's never not faced a guy that was mandated to face him. You can look back in the super featherweight days when he became champion, all the way up till he became 174, 147-pound champion. Never ducked a mandatory. There are guys who will make claims like this dude, what's his name? Junior Witter. He would claim, I was the mandatory for Floyd Mayweather. It was a lie. He was not the mandatory for Floyd Mayweather. All right? He was the #1 guy, but he wasn't made mandatory. He was the #1 guy in line to face Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather wanted the big fights. He couldn't get a Ricky Hatton fight. He couldn't get a Miguel Cotto fight. So he moved up to welterweight to face Zab Judah. His first fight at welterweight was supposed to be Zab Judah. It ended up being Sean Bay Mitchell. All right? Now, let's talk about Floyd. So Antonio Margarito, the first guy that claimed, everybody claimed Floyd Mayweather ducked. This is where the beginning of the ducking thing started. Before that, when Floyd was with Bob Arum wasn't saying, oh, this guy is avoiding, he's afraid to fight, he's afraid to lose his own. He wasn't saying none of that shit. As soon as Floyd is his own boss, he moved away from Bob Arum. Bob Arum's not promoting him. That's when Bob Arum started his bullshit. Okay? Floyd ended up facing, he wanted to face, actually, Floyd didn't even want to face Carlos Baldomir. He actually wanted to face, at 154, he wanted to face Corey Spinks, who was at the time the 154 IBF world champion. And they actually did a promotion and they had everything ramped up. Okay. But then the fans said, you're ducking Carlos Baldomir, who's the real champion, who beat Zab Judah. You faced Zab Judah, but you should have faced Carlos Baldomir. Now, here's the thing. Carlos Baldomir wasn't somebody on everybody's radar. So he was seen as a tune-up fight, kind of like, you know, because he was the mandatory for he was a mandatory for Zab Judah, but Zab Judah didn't have to execute the mandatory at the time because Zab Judah was undisputed champion. He was the WBC mandatory for Zab Judah. Zab Judah put it back to get a voluntary to face Floyd Mayweather. If he beat Floyd Mayweather, then he would have gone and defend against Carlos Baldomir. This is how it went down. Nobody knew who Carlos Baldomir was. He came from Argentina. That should have given people a heads up. Zab should have woken up to that fact, but he didn't. So just like with Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos being Teofimo Lopez's mandatory, I believe it's the IBF mandatory, whatever it was. He did not take Carlos Baldomir 100% seriously. Okay, so Baldomir, first of all, if he had done his fucking homework, you'd have realized Baldomir was a 22-fight winning guy. He was on a 22-fight winning streak. Okay, and it beat the likes of Joshua Clottey. But this dude wasn't thinking, so he's going in there saying, this is my stay busy fight. So while Floyd, you want to get a fight to acclimatize to 147 with the Sean Bay Mitchell fight, I'm going to fight this dude right here, my mandatory. And I'm going to get him out of the way, and then we're going to face each other, right? Baldomir ends up upsetting Zab Judah and beating his ass. Beating Zab Judah. Close fight. unanimous decision victory to Carlos Baldomir. Zab really wasn't effective with his straight lefts. Baldomir got used to it. Besides that, he was slipping it on the outside and coming over with the overhand right and tagging up Zab Judah, which is crazy because Baldomir has this unique skill set that a lot of people don't know. He can lead with the right hand or he can lead with the left hand, and he always do it off an angle. He's never straight down the center, so you can't catch him like that. He's very awkward. So if you have a jab, you're a jabbing guy. Ask Burnham Forrest, ask Floyd Mayweather. If you were jab, he slip your jab and he come in with his punch. Okay, he's slow as fuck, but his timing is weird, and he lead with either hand. So, anyways, Zab Judah gets beat by Carlos Baldomir. Floyd still ends up facing Zab Judah. Carlos Baldomir should have been undisputed champion. He ends up being the lineal champion because he won the WBC title. He was one WBC mandatory. He only had money to pay for the WBC title. He didn't even have money to get the other belts from the other sanctioning bodies. So he ended up not having the WBA belt. Zab Judah wasn't going to retain it. So they stripped him of it because he didn't win the fight. And then on top of that, Zab Judah held on to the IBF title, which he shouldn't have held on to. He should have been stripped of that too. But because Baldomir couldn't pay sanctioning fees for that, Zab held on to it, which is really weird because if you lose a fight, you don't hold on to a title. I always thought Floyd didn't actually win the IBF title from Zab Judah because Zab Judah was the guy that got beat. That don't make no sense, right? So let's talk about Canelo, 78 Sports TV Junior. Let's talk about it. So in short, Floyd ends up having to face Carlos Baldomir, the guy that beat Zab Judah. Okay, he ends up facing him instead of facing Antonio Margarito because that's the dude everybody wants him to face. That's the actual welterweight champion. That's the guy that beat Zab Judah. Might have known about him before, and he just kind of popped up on the scene and took everything. Sort of kind of like for the casual fans, Carambosis. Nobody really knew who he was, didn't take him serious. Pop up on the scene, take all the belts from Teofimo Lopez, right? Was kind of like the same thing, except Teofimo Lopez wasn't undisputed, but Zab Judah was. Both of them had 3 belts, but at the time, the WBO was not recognized because we were dealing with the year 2006, not 2007, when the WBO began to become recognized. So Zab Judah had the IBF, WBA, and the WBC. He ended up somehow ending up with the IBF, was stripped of the WBA, and the regular champion for the WBA, who at the time was Louis Collazo, because he beat a dude from, I believe it was Europe. He beat that dude to become the regular WBA champion. That was now the WBA champion. Okay? So all of this just to say, the WBO champion was Antonio Margarito. He was a long-reigning welterweight champion. He hadn't lost a fight as a welterweight champion in a long time, but he did lose to Daniel Santos twice. Well, actually, it was a no contest the first time, and the second time he lost to Dan. The first time he lost to Daniel Santos, it was a no contest at welterweight, but they called it a no contest, so they ruled it out. And then the second time he fought Daniel Santos with a super welterweight, when Daniel Santos was the WBO champion, and Daniel Santos beat his ass because Daniel Santos was a southpaw who could really box and he could also bang. So he beat Antonio Margarito. So the second time Daniel Santos would have beaten his ass, but again, the fight was in a no contest the first time. Now, point is, he had gotten beaten in his streak. Also, he hadn't faced nobody. He hadn't faced anybody either. Okay, right? Antonio Margarito, for all that long reigning WBO champ bullshit, which the WBO wasn't recognized at that time. For all of that bullshit, be reigning so long, but who you beat? Who he beat? Okay, he beat a young Sergio Martinez. His first debut into the United States of America, Argentinian fighter, skilled southpaw. He beat him. So that credit to him on that. But there was nobody else on his resume. Okay, nobody else. I think, no, actually, didn't he beat Carlos Quintana? No, that was later on. He beat Carlos Quintana. So he hadn't beaten nobody else. Okay, so people were demanding that Floyd face Antonio Margarito when Floyd signed up to face Carlos Baldomir. So everybody wanted him to face Carlos Baldomir because that's the guy that beat Zab Judah. And then all of a sudden, when Bob Arum says, well, Floyd's afraid to face Antonio Margarito, because people knew the name Antonio Margarito more than Carlos Baldomir, even though their styles were very similar, they ended up saying, well, he's ducking Antonio Margarito. So this is how this went down. Margarito wasn't as mandatory. Margarito wasn't the #1 welterweight in the world. It was Carlos Baldomir. there was no reason for Floyd to face Antonio Margarito. And if he did face Antonio Margarito, let's say he didn't sign up for Carlos Baldomir and the people protested. This is after he signs up for Carlos Baldomir, now to say Margarito, right? But let's just say he didn't sign up for the Carlos Baldomir fight, and he was just listening to the people, and the people said, "You're ducking Antonio Margarito," and he faced Antonio Margarito, and he did not face Carlos Baldomir. He did not become lineal champion. What do you think people would have been saying? Okay, so he faced the right guy. The guy he was supposed to face was Carlos Baldomir. It's about the best facing the best. And the best at the time, even though he came out of obscurity, it seems, and then became the best fighter in the world, was Carlos Baldomir, because he beat Zab Judah, the undisputed champion, while Antonio Margarito was in obscurity with his obscure belt. Okay? That did not count to undisputed. Okay? Because he had a WBO belt that did not have no damn value at the time. It's like the IBO belt today. Okay? But Floyd's ducking Antonio Margarito. Please. Please. See, a lot of people don't know their history. Now, what Canelo Alvarez did against Jamal Charlo is nothing like what Floyd did in the case of Antonio Margarito versus, they're saying he was ducking Antonio Margarito. Okay? Antonio Margarito was the number 2. No, sorry. He was the number 3 welterweight in the world at the time. Floyd was number 2. The number 1 welterweight in the world at the time was Carlos Baldomir, because beat Zab Judah. Period. The number 2 was Floyd. Yep. The number 2 was Floyd. The number 3 was actually Ricky Hatton, because Ricky Hatton came up from 140 and faced Luis Collazo and beat him. So that was the number 3. The number 4 welterweight in the world was Antonio Margarito. So he should go face the number 4 welterweight in the world instead of facing the number 1. That makes no sense, y'all. Okay? He always faced the top-ranked guys. No matter what y'all guys say, he always faced the top-ranked guys, except for in the case of Marcus Maidana, where he was, I think he's ranked number 9 or 10 because he beat Adrian Broner. Okay? But Marcus Maidana was doing spectacular things. Okay? But anyway, let's get back to it. Canelo Alvarez at 160. First of all, Canelo Alvarez said he wanted to become undisputed. Floyd never said he wanted to become undisputed. Floyd never said that. Go look at his history. He never said that. All Floyd Mayweather always said since he debuted in boxing is, I want the biggest and the best fights possible. The biggest and the best fights possible. That's all Floyd Mayweather ever said. I don't want to face the best. I want to face Shane Mosley. I want to face Oscar De La Hoya. I want to face Costas Tszyu. I want to face Paul Spadafora. I want to face Jose Luis Castillo. I want to face who else was the best at the time? He said, I want to face the best. I want to face the winner of Joel Casimiro and Acelino Freitas. Okay, that's what Floyd always used to say. You don't hear Canelo saying, I want to face the best. Well, he does say it, and he did. Again, I'm not mad at him. He did face the best possible fighters at 168 at the time. Okay? But he did not face Jamel Charlo. His mandatory, his WBC mandatory. He did not face Derek Derevyanchenko. He did not face Sergey Derevyanchenko, who was his IBF mandatory. Okay? He did not. And you cannot say that Floyd ever did not face his Mando. And here's the other thing. And I don't knock Canelo too much for not facing actually I knock him. I knock him hard for not facing Demetrius Andrade. Because he said his goal at 160 was to become undisputed. And the last fight he had to have to become undisputed was Demetrius Andrade. And he stalled on it. He stalled on it. To this day, he stalled on it. And then on top of that, he said, which is a acknowledgement that you're ducking the guy. He said Demetrius Andrade is a horrible fighter. That was his excuse. His excuse for not facing Demetrius Andrade is that he's a horrible fighter. That makes no sense whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen. None. You would never hear Floyd say something stupid like that, because that's a duck. You ducking, and you ducking like if you bowl. You call that out. That's a duck. A duck. You ain't gonna face a fighter because he's a horrible fighter. That's it. That's it. Man, that's a duck. Period. Ain't no other way around it. He ducking Demetrius Andrade. And we all know this. That's a duck. There's no excuse. Floyd never, ever said that about any fighter. Never. That's duck language. Don't get me wrong again. I'm not saying that Canelo didn't face the best at 168. Callum Smith was the lineal champion. Then he faced Billy Joe Saunders, who I thought was a better fighter than Caleb Plant. Turns out the opposite is true. Then he faced Caleb Plant, and I thought Caleb Plant had more power to keep Canelo honest, which he did. He had a good jab. He kept Canelo honest, to be honest with you. He didn't do anything wrong in that fight, except he did not know how to respond when he got knocked down. He just didn't know. That's lack of experience on that end. But other than that, he was beating Canelo. I had him ahead. But even so, those were the best fighters at 168. They were. No doubt about it. But why is Canelo a duck? Let me explain to you guys what a duck is first. A duck's when you say, I'm not facing you, or I got a better fight over here. And when you look at the fighter that the fighter's about to face versus the one that he's not facing, the fight he's about to face is inferior as the fighter to the fighter he was going to face, both in status and in recognition. And a lot of fighters, they do the duck, duck, goose routine by jumping up in weight to avoid other fighters. This is a standard thing. Now, when Canelo ducked Demetrius Andrade, and I use the word duck now, he ducked Demetrius Andrade. He ducked three guys to face one guy. He ducked Demetrius Andrade. He had three options. He had Demetrius Andrade for undisputed at 160. He had Jamal Charlo, who was his mandatory, that the WBC enabled him to duck by getting the duck belt known as the franchise belt. It's the bullshit belt. And then he also ducked Sergey Derevyanchenko. All of these guys give Canelo a very intriguing fight because they all bring attributes that challenge Canelo. All right, Jamal Charlo's sharp. He's fast, lightning quick. He's like what we call a young hitter quitter. He is a young gunner. Okay, a young gun stunner. And he knock you out with a shot. That's what Jamal Charlo brought to the table. He's not slow like Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev got heavy hands, but he's slow. Charlo's sharp and fast. He got quickness that matched Canelo's speed. That's what makes that fight interesting. Okay? He's a long-range guy, use a jab, just like Sergey Kovalev, everything like Sergey Kovalev, except he's a young gun stunner. Okay? And he got some special effects behind it. And he can fight a little bit on the inside. Demetrius Andrade is a nightmare for anybody facing him because he could do it all. He could bang, he could box, he could move, he could pick you off, he could drop you, he got speed, he got power, he got it all. And he's southpaw. He is a nightmare. Okay? So Sergey Kovalev, in terms of skills and abilities, is not on the level of a Demetrius Andrade. Is not on the level of a Jamal Charlo. And he sure as hell is not on the level as a Derevyanchenko, who could walk, he run ring around you because he always going in a circle around you, pivoting around you, banging you up, He never straight in front of you. We argued that Sergey Kovalev, Sergey Derevyanchenko beat Gennady Golovkin. But they gave it, I guess, because Gennady Golovkin knocked him down. But he the guy that hurt Gennady Golovkin the most. Shout out to Ryan Chow. Ryan Chow says, how is moving up in weight ducking? Okay, so I'm going to give you a good illustration of tremendous duck. Okay, Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez was in the same weight division, featherweight, as Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson wanted to face Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez jumped up in weight to avoid Shakur Stevenson. I can give you many, many illustrations of fighters. To this day, Oscar Valdez is not trying to face Shakur Stevenson. He is looking to face a guy moving up in weight, because they want him to move up in weight, in Negrete. The next fight that should have happened was Shakur versus Oscar Valdez after Shakur stopped what my dude name? Jamel Herring. And Oscar Valdez did not perform so well against a boxer type. he got the gift decision, and the referee penalized the guy for nothing. You know, everything was working. And so Oscar Valdez is not ready for Shakur, and we all know this. That's why he's ducking him. Okay, he moved up, and lots of fighters move up in weight to duck other fighters. What are you talking about, man? They do it all the time. Okay, they're trying to say that the change in weight is the thing that you're going to look at. Can he handle the weight? So that's the bullshit that they use. Canelo against Sergey Kovalev used a rehydration clause on the fact that Sergey Kovalev was coming off of a fight, a tough fight, very recently, less than 9 weeks. He had another fight. His body hadn't even recuperated from the trauma that he went through the previous fight. So he had to take it easy. And he boxed his ass off against Canelo. Showed me a lot. You know, Kovalev showed me that he boxed. You know. And I think Canelo was ahead though, because he was sharper and everything. But so you go up in weight, but you compromise the guy that you're going up in weight against. I could tell you many situations. I could tell you about the great Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard ducked the 160-pound division and ducked the 147-pound division. Okay, how did he do it? Simple. So he came back into boxing. He fought one fight, which was against what's the kid name? Howard, right? Kevin Howard. Kevin Howard dropped his ass, and Kevin Howard ain't nobody special. Dropped his ass, and he retired back from boxing. He said, "You know what? I don't look so good." So he never competed with Donald Curry. He never competed with what's his name? Lloyd Hunnigan. All of these guys was there. Marlon Starling. All these guys was running the 147-pound division. Okay. Michael McCrory, there's a whole bunch of them. He never tried to mix it up with those 140-pounders. He stayed 5 years away from the 147-pound division and jumped back up to the 160-pound division to face Marvin Hagler. Shout out to him, because he saw Marvin Hagler faded. He never had another 160-pound division fight. He jumped up into a whole new weight class made specifically for him so he could duck 160-pounders, even though he used to make like 159, 158, something like that. Even going into those super middleweight fights, even with Thomas Hearns, they was like 160, 162, something like that. Even with Durant, he never made 165 pounds. He ducked the whole freaking middleweight division. Okay, he ducked it, so he didn't have to face guys like Mike McCallum. He didn't even face. Durant did better than him. Durant actually took on one of them youngins, Iron Barkley. That was one of the youngins. All right. Dude was still in his prime, and he ducked the entire division until he came back down and he fought Terry Norris, and we saw what happened. He was only 34 years old. Of course, guys age differently and whatever. But man, Terry Norris tore that ass up. Tore that ass up. Okay? That's what you do when you duck and you go up in divisions, and they make divisions for you, like how they're making a fucking Bridgerweight division. That's probably for Canelo. All right, Suleiman and Canelo like this. Okay? So we've seen a lot of bullshit going on. And Canelo, to his credit, he's a draw, man. Dude packs stadiums. I mean, pay-per-view. He has the second highest pay-per-view for this year. He a bad motherfucker. No doubt about it. But come on now, Macaboo. I mean, of all all the 100 and 200 pounders you got. You're going to face Makabu, the guy that gets slept twice. All right. He got some skill as a southpaw, but he's slow as fuck. Right. You wouldn't face Bredis. Fuck it, man. You wouldn't even face Dorticos. You know what I'm saying? Dorticos a good fighter too. He Cuban school of boxing. You wouldn't face him. You wouldn't face Bredis. You wouldn't face what's the kid name from England, the UK guy. You wouldn't face him. He undefeated, and he been cracking ass. He got 87% knockout ratio, just like Makabu. Okay, you wouldn't face them guys, and he's a recent champion too. But he got more experience than Makabu. But you're gonna face Makabu. Why? He tailor-made for you, and you know this. He tailor-made for you, and you know this. You know it's a duck. You ducking David Benavidez. He's ducking David Benavidez. David Benavidez is not as mandatory, not like at 160. But think about this. Floyd Mayweather never did this shit. Demetrius Andrade was at 154. You come up with these guys. Charlo, Andrade was at 154. Now, you beat Erislandy Lara, so I didn't hassle you about these guys at 154. But listen to the shut your mouth words I want to say. Listen to this. Demetrius Andrade at 154 gets stripped of the 154 title. Liam Smith wins the vacant title. All of a sudden, Canelo's fighting Liam Smith. As soon as Demetrius Andrade gets stripped, Andrade, I think, had the WBO title, and I think he went and he fought for the WBA after because he got stripped of the WBO. Okay. David Benavidez. Tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. David Benavidez don't make weight. He loses the WBC title, even though he beat his opponent. Canelo suddenly has the door open to get the WBC title from the WBC, and he takes it. So he is willing to fight for a vacant title than face David Benavidez. Make that make sense to me. Is it about the belt, or is it about who holds the belt? See, a real undisputed champion is not a belt collector like Gennady Golovkin. When Canelo said he needed more time and he wanted to negotiate the fight with Gennady Golovkin just took the belt. I just want the belt. You're a belt collector. Don't give a fuck about you, because the belt represents something. It represents a certain level, and you want to earn that belt. You want to be able to face the best to say, this is the prize that I've received for facing the best. It's not just about the fucking belt. It's about who you face and who you beat to get the belt. That's why they call guys who fight for vacant titles paper champions. You're not a real champion because you didn't face the real champion. That's what it's about. The belt represents the champion you beat, the caliber fighter you beat. It's the prize for that. It's not about collecting trinkets. It's about the worthy fight that brought forth the trinket. Otherwise, what the hell? I don't need a trinket. Okay? Don't get me wrong. See, a lot of you guys, you feel that my criticism, I'm a Canelo fan. So when I started criticizing Canelo, I'm coming from substance. I'm not jealous of Canelo. I don't hate Canelo. None of that stuff. And if you look early in Canelo's career, he took the hard challenges. He took the hard fights. Okay? He took on Austin Trout when Golden Boy was panicking because it was like, Trout, why do you want to face a black, skilled, young, prime fighter who's southpaw? Canelo's like, give me Caleb, give me Austin Trout. And he gave Austin Trout his first loss. And yes, judges' scorecards was all over the place. It was shitty. But I thought when I scored it that Canelo beat him and used defense, looked slick as hell and all that shit. Okay. He then went on to take Floyd Mayweather on. He said, I was born ready. Got outclassed. But the point is, at the end of the day, he took him on. One fight later, after Alfredo Angulo little stay busy shit, he took on Erislandy Lara. He took on Nobody takes on Erislandy Lara. He took on Erislandy Lara. I was like, this motherfucker's bad. He took him on. He was getting his ass beat early. Lara was having target practice, and he made an adjustment. And he came from behind to beat Erislandy Lara, in my opinion, on my score. Now, one of the judges, again, had it extremely wide. It's even in the Mayweather card, CJ Ross had a draw, and I was like, what? Everybody, even Canelo, was like, what? The thing that make people hate Canelo is the judges' scorecards. You can't be mad at Canelo for the judges. He not paying the judges. I don't know what to do. You can't be mad at Canelo for the judges. He went in there. He did what he's supposed to do. Now, after that, Canelo took on Miguel Cotto. Come on, man. Come on, man. That was a lineal champion. And remember, Canelo was not a full-fledged middleweight at the time. He had not fought any middleweights. They fought it at 155, which he was fighting at Canelo weight. And he was fighting at Canelo weight so that he didn't have to face the 154-pounders, who was the up-and-coming Jamal Charlo, the up-and-coming Jamel Charlo, the Demetrius Andrades. He fought at Canelo weight not because he couldn't make 154, because he wanted to stay out of the weight class. So nobody would be talking to him about facing them youngins like himself. He was waiting for them youngins to develop. So I was like this as a fan. I was like, all right, he waiting for them to develop. He waiting for them to come into their own. They knew in the game. They knew champions and stuff. He been a champion for a while. He ahead of the curve. He going to give them their shine. He had already faced Erislandy Lara, so it's cool there. Right? I gave him a pass. All right? When he said, I ain't no middleweight, and they stripped him because he was trying to get a catch weight for Triple G, and Triple G didn't want no catch weight, right? And he moved across and he said, I'm really a 154-pounder. I'm going to prove it. And he went and faced Liam Smith. I gave him a pass because I knew that was Demetrius Andrade's belt. That wasn't no Liam Smith belt. That was Demetrius Andrade's belt. But I never said nothing about it. Because at the time, Andrade fell out with the Charlos because he was supposed to face Jamel. And he backed the fuck out the fight while he was with Rock Nation. See, I know all the details. That was on Andrade. That looked like he ducked Charlo, which is stupid, but that's how it looked. That was his fatal flaw. Until this day, he blacklisted for that. But nonetheless, by the Charlos at least. But nonetheless, Demetrius Andrade has been calling out everybody, including the Charlos afterwards. But he fucked up. He fucked up the money. He fucked up the money. He should have not gone with Rock Nation. He should have taken that fight with Jamel Charlo. And Mel at the time was a pretty boxer. He was a boxer. He wasn't no puncher. He wasn't really stopping guys like that. But he was clean. He was clean. You know, I loved him. He reminded me of Floyd in some ways. You know, he was more of an eye guard and stuff. But he wanted to be a puncher. So he went with Errol Spence trainer Derek James. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, back to what we were saying. So Canelo took on Miguel fucking Cotto, man. Y'all crazy, man. He got the victory. Now he got the victory. It was a close fight, but he got the victory. Okay, over Miguel Cotto. Then he goes and starts to do some whack ass shit. Like he fight Amir Khan. Because Gennady Golovkin had fought, of course, Kell Brook. Canelo said, all right, I'm gonna fight Amir Khan. And he fought Amir Khan. That was supposed to be voluntary, and then he was supposed to fight Triple G. So he got stripped. He fought Liam Smith, who was really Demetrius Andrade, was supposed to be the guy he was facing. And now, in retrospect, I can look back and say that's duck number one. But Canelo's is really supposed to be focused on Triple G, so that was the biggest fight out there. He jumps up to 164. He jumps up at a catch weight again, and he faces Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which he should never have fought at that catch weight. Killed himself to do that, and so Canelo totally dominated that fight. Didn't stop him, but he dominated it. Got the strength now. He said, you know what, I can kind of acclimatize to the weight class. Goes up and he outboxes Triple G, right? Nobody gives him the decision, but Canelo thought he won, and I thought Canelo won as well. I actually had Adelaide Bird scorecard, okay? And not just me. The other person who I thought was in agreement with that is Jeff Mayweather. Jeff Mayweather and I see eye to eye on this. Canelo outboxed his ass. Okay. A lot of people say Triple G won that fight. That's bullshit. Triple G didn't win shit. Okay. He didn't win shit. Okay. And how do I know this? Because Canelo's face was clean at the end of the fight. He didn't even have a bruise on it. Triple G had lumps on his face from all the punches Canelo was hitting his face with, and all them body punches Canelo was landing on him. Yeah, Canelo wasn't going that whole night. He wasn't incessant. He wasn't continuously throwing combination. It was in sporadic moments. It was in spurts. But when it was in spurts, it was a bunch of punches he was throwing and a bunch of punches he was landing. So there's no way in fucking hell I'm going to say Triple G, who's missing most of the night, wasn't even landing combos. The only thing he was landing was a touch jab mostly for the night. And Canelo was allowing him to do that by putting his head to bait him in, because Canelo didn't throw his jab to bait Triple G for the most part. He was letting Triple G throw his own jab to bait his own self. That's to tell you how smart Canelo was fighting Triple G. He outboxed him easy. At the end of the fight, you see him up with his laughing with his hands up in the air. When he hears the decision, he's stroking his beard like, what the fuck? Okay. Renault's on there watching the scorecard like this. What? Because he fought a brilliant fight. He's like Floyd Mayweather in there. It's like for all the people saying, well, how would Floyd do against Triple G? Well, there it is. You know what I mean? He outboxed him. And then in the second fight, he outfought him. So the first fight, he outboxed him. Why am I seeing hide comment? What the hell is that about? No, I don't want to hide any comments. Cho Wang says, I also have to disagree with that as well. Deontay Wilder won a vacant title, was able to defend it 10 times, so which in my opinion proves he's right to that throne at that point. The point is, a belt don't define a fighter. What defines a fighter is the fights he has. When you talk about all-time greats, we don't look at the belts. I mean, the belts are cool if you win a bunch of belts, but if you ain't faced nobody after having all those title defenses or having all those belts, it don't mean shit. It don't mean shit. It may mean something because you was a titleist, but you have to face somebody who also had reputation, who not only was a champion, but beat people along the way. See, that matters more than it's even if there was no belts on the line. It's all about the people. But of course, with a belt on the line, the stakes are higher. So you expect the fighters to fight even more fiercely and have more hunger because there's a prize at the end. And at a certain level, belts actually help you to get a higher pay grade. So it's in your interest to win a belt. And now there's so many fucking belts around. I can understand why some people say, man, this boxing thing is shit because a belt don't mean nothing today. But it does mean something. It does mean something. I'm not saying it don't mean nothing. It means something for especially a hungry fighter who gets, like, you see George Moses, he just got a pay raise. Anytime he has to fight any fight, it's going to be a $2 million, $3 million fight. He just got a pay raise. He wasn't making $1 million. He never made $1 million in his life. Now he has. I'm talking US. Okay. He has just gotten into the $1 million bracket with winning those belts. He moved from contender to champion, now to become, titleist to titleist. Now to become supreme champion, he has to defend successfully once. To become a legend, he'll have to defend and win belts and titles continuously for the rest of his career against great fighters. And he'll become a legend. That's how it goes. The highest level is legend. You a legend in the sport, you've etched your name into history. You're not just any champion out there or any titleist out there. You've separated yourself from everyone else. And you will be remembered. So that's what it's all about. There's levels to the boxing, you know what I'm saying? So if you beaten nobodies, but you got a belt, nobody gonna remember you. Why are they gonna remember you? For what? You gotta beat somebody. You gotta beat somebody. Another boxer who's exceptional. Another boxer that separated himself from all his competition. That's what you got to have. That's what boxing's about. You look at Floyd Mayweather. You look at Canelo Alvarez even. You look at Manny Pacquiao. You know, these are some of the greats of our era. You look at Errol Spence. You look at Terrence Crawford. They got names on their resume. The names mean something. It's not just, you know, here's another thing. You look at, when Evander Holyfield beat the guy that beat Mike Tyson, which was James Buster Douglas, right? He beat Buster Douglas. You know what the people said? Hey, Mike Tyson, you didn't beat the man. But he beat the man that beat the man. He actually beat the lineal champion, the right guy. But he had to go back and beat Mike Tyson. He had to beat Mike Tyson because Mike Tyson was esteemed much more highly than Buster Douglas. It's about who you beat. Yeah, Buster Douglas did beat Mike Tyson, but that ain't Mike Tyson. You got to go back and beat Mike Tyson. Carlos Baldomir beat Zab Judah, but that ain't Zab Judah. You got to go beat Zab Judah, and then you got to go beat Carlos Baldomir. Get what I'm saying? All right, so names, very important in boxing. But the names ain't just any name. It's because the name, the person built up a reputation. That's why they got a name. All right, so let's go to Sergey Kovalev. So Canelo, he doesn't face Charlo, who he should have faced at 154, we could say. Or he was there with him at 154. He didn't face him at middleweight. Okay. He didn't face Demetrius Andrade at middleweight. Right? He didn't face Derevyanchenko at middleweight. He did face Triple G, who was the man at middleweight, and he got most of the belts. So kudos to him. He beat the guy of the division. But he said, Floyd Mayweather never said this, but he said he wanted to be undisputed. He said that. Right? He said that. That came out of his mouth. That didn't come out. So we expected him to face Demetrius Andrade, and we were looking forward to that. He don't face Demetrius Andrade. Shit, he lost his IBF title before he could even face Derevyanchenko. So he didn't face him either, and he has never faced him. And he didn't go on and face Jamal Charlo. Everybody want to see all those fights, right? And that was his mandatory. Derevyanchenko and Charlo was his mandatory. He didn't even face them because he so bad didn't want to face Demetrius Andrade and was stalling so hard, but he so wanted to face Sergey Kovalev that he ended up losing his belts, and he ended up not facing none of those other guys. He faced Sergey Kovalev, but it wasn't the Crusher. He did not face the Crusher. Y'all know this. He didn't face the Crusher. And he faced a compromised Kovalev. We all know this. He put a rehydration clause in there, and everybody was like groaning, oh my God, why did he do that? Even though Kovalev had fought within that weight limit, I think 2 fights before. But the point is, why are you doing all this? If you're going to face the guy in his weight class, face the guy in his weight class. But they will say he was following the Floyd Mayweather blueprint because Floyd had him in a catch weight. But it's different. Why? Why is it different? I'm going to tell you why. He offered Floyd to face him at 150. Canelo said that. He said, man, I'm going to face you at 150 in 2011. She never said that to Floyd. Floyd would have faced you at he would have faced you at 154. But you come in and said 150. Floyd doesn't even face him at 150. You should have held him to his word. Motherfucker, you faced me at 150. He didn't. They compromised. And he made him lose 2 extra pounds. He faced him at 152. 152. If Canelo never ventured it, it would have never happened. But now Canelo ain't even giving people chances with that. He's like, you want this fight? Then you got to rehydrate to this weight. Okay? That's how it goes. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to jump up in a higher weight class, like you say, cruiserweight, don't do no catch weight. Don't do no rehydration clause. Don't do that bullshit. And let a man come in 200 pounds. Don't let him come in at 190. He don't do that. You already have the speed advantage on him. You're already a sharper fighter. You got better footwork. Okay? Dude can't even fight going backwards properly. Don't take away some of his advantages. You're taking away all his advantages from him. What you going to be facing? A deadbeat thing? So you could get a knockout? So you could say to your Mexican fans, look, I knocked out a cruiserweight. I got my fifth world title. But it ain't real because the man is half dead. That's like Pacquiao versus Oscar. We can't give Pacquiao credit for beating a dead horse. That's a dead horse. And we got to be real as fans. We don't bullshit people. So once again, that's a duck. He's ducking David Benavidez for a much lesser opponent. And the thing about it is, David Benavidez is already a big 175 pounder. Why do you need to leave the 168 pounder? Sorry. Why did you need to leave the division to say you facing a bigger guy? When that's all smoke and mirrors. That's all smoke and mirrors. Floyd never did that shit. Never. Okay. I don't want to face a Mexican fighter. Bullshit. You say that Demetrius Andrade is a horrible fighter. You say you don't want to face a Mexican fighter because you don't want to face them. You're ducking them. Why? I don't know. Because honestly, I think he beats David Benavidez. But he obviously don't have the confidence to believe that. He want to go up to cruiserweight and face a dud. A dude that's just occupying a belt. He don't want to face Lawrence Okoli. He don't want to face Maurice Bredis, who gave Alexander Usyk all he could handle. Nah, he don't want to face them. They're skilled. He want to face a dude that's average. They've been knocking out guys in Africa. Look at all his opponents. They're all in Africa. They're all in the Congo. I mean, just do a little homework, people. This dude is he's no big threat to Canelo except for weight. Skill-wise and everything else-wise, he's just the perfect style for Canelo. For crying out loud. He got knocked out by what the kid name who's retired now? Got knocked out at cruiser by him. The dude that David what the fuck, whatever the guy's name is. All right, it'll come to me. Okay. I mean, come on, man. Some things are just inexcusable. Frank Show said, didn't Cotto have a win over Sergio Martinez? Yeah, he did, but Martinez's legs, Martinez's legs is his defense. His legs were bad, though. Nonetheless, Cotto dropped him a bunch of times, but Martinez got hard. He never gave up. He got up and just kept on fighting on bad legs. This is crazy. Okay. But Cotto was the lineal champion nonetheless. He fought him on a catchweight too, I think. Yeah, but the point is, people saying, oh, he's jumping up 2 weight classes and he's doing this. Yeah, because he's stipulating the conditions. I'm not saying that jumping up 2 weight classes is not a great thing. I'm just saying because you still have to train, you still have to work your ass off. But when you're fighting the style that's custom made for you, of all the styles out there, Jermell Charlo's style is probably more customized towards Canelo because Canelo can slip a jab. He gets past the jab, right? He has different tricks he uses to get past jab. He does all kinds of things with jabs. If you look, he catches jabs. He does all kinds of things, right? Floyd, Pacquiao, them guys can do, they handle a jab. That's what they do, okay? But Demetrius Andrade is a lot more diverse. It's not just about the jab. It's not just about that. He has all kinds of tricks up his sleeve. And to credit of Jermell Charlo, he's quick, he's sharp, and so on. But Jamal particularly built off of a jab. Jamel got special effects, and he could do a lot of other things. Even though these days, he ain't really using too much of that. He's not as pretty anymore. All right? But Jamel is facing competition. He's facing the best out there. He's going to have a rematch with Castaño. That's what I'm talking about. We're not getting that from Canelo. We're getting Canelo, and everybody be talking about it. Now, against Caleb Plant, it was a good fight, but Caleb Plant ain't got the pop to really respect Canelo, other than his jab. His jab, Canelo respects his jab, but everything else he don't have, right? David Benavidez got power in both hands, man. He's strong as fuck. And yeah, he don't have the best defense in the world, but he keeps coming, and he laughs at you when you try to hit him with shots. Can't remember Antonio Margarito in a kind of way, but he's much more skilled. and he really knows how to use his jab. But he got flat legs, he got flat feet. He's not really quick. You know, could get caught with check hooks. You know, you could counter hook him and drop him. So all I'm saying is, as Ronald Galville did, what I'm saying is, if the guy's in position, give the guy a shot. This guy's worthy of it. And yeah, you will say, well, I want to fight a fight in Mexico. I don't want to pay guys too much money and so on. But some of the money that's being put up, yes, I know the promotional company has to put up money and all of that, and you joint with it. But at the end of the day, you want to let the guy feed his family as well. You got to give the guy a shot. David Benavidez put himself in a position, even though he screwed up the money and fucked up the money by losing the belt, he put himself back in a position where he was the #1 contender. David Benavidez repeatedly over and over saying Canelo will never face him, blah, 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 blah. And now Canelo validates that by not facing him. And this is the shit that I don't understand, because Canelo, the younger Canelo wouldn't have done shit like that. And don't tell me you in the driver's seat because you made money and all this thing and you can pick your fight. Then pick the right fights. You say you want to give the fans what they want to see, and then you're not picking the right fights. And there's no reasoning behind it. Like, there's no reason why you have to jump all the way up to 200, make 200 190. So there's a lot of fuckery going on. Sorry about the F-bomb, but it's a lot of fuckery. You want the weight limit to be 190 all of a sudden for a 200-pound guy. He done already slow. Okay, he's slower than you. He got a little skill. He a little bit southpaw, whatever. He's slower than you. You won't give him his weight. You probably might tell me you need to do it at a catch weight or something, or the WBC gonna make some fucked up rule so that the dude suddenly is at a disadvantage, as if he needed to be more at a disadvantage. So that's just a bum ass fight waiting to happen for Mexican fans in Mexico, so they can see a knockout, kind of Julio Cesar Chavez style. The guy's a credible, reputable world champion, but you put him in a position physically where he cannot perform at his best. And when he cannot perform at his best, here's the thing you're doing. You're saying this is not a bum fight. This is not a walkover fight, but you cripple the guy. You cripple him. So he's going into the fight crippled. He might as well have been a bum. That's the bullshit that they pull it. They did it before with Sergey Kovalev. They did it with Callum Smith, where they had to fight too soon. Callum Smith wasn't ready. He wasn't trained and everything to get into position to do what he had to do. At least with Caleb Plant, he had better preparation. And he got a better fight. So, once again, and Billy Joe Saunders, he's just a wuss in a way. Billy Joe Saunders didn't have the confidence. When he finally found his confidence, it was too late. All right? My point anyway is, I'm not saying that it's about paydays or whatever, but I'm just saying these guys put themselves in the position to face Canelo instead of Canelo facing the best of them. Or even if you're going to go up to, say, cruiserweight, face the Maris brothers, face Lawrence Okolie, face somebody reputable, man. Okay? At least with the Sergey Kovalev thing, Sergey Kovalev was a name, had a good resume, etc. But this dude, Makabu, who the fuck is he? And why should we care about him? And when I look at him, he's the weakest champion of all the champions out there. He ain't faced, I think he faced one reputable guy, and it's an old over-the-hill Glenn Johnson. Okay? The other reputable guy he faced, which is not David Haye, the guy that beat David Haye, I forgot what his name is. He stopped him in 3 rounds. Yeah, he dropped the guy. I think it was in the 2nd round. But in the 3rd round, the guy stopped him. I can't remember the guy's name for nothing. All right, so this guy, I mean, he wins a world title. Great for him. But he's been fighting in Africa, and he ain't been fighting, you know, dudes that we know. And the 2 reputable names he had, the over-the-hill Glenn Johnson and the other guy, which I can't remember right now, it's coming to me, Tony Bellew. The other guy was Tony Bellew. These are not tremendously big names, but they're still names, right? Over-the-hill Glenn Johnson and Tony Bellew. Okay? Tony Bellew stops him. Tony Bellew stops him. Tony Bellew's a name. He ain't a big name or nothing. And he stops him. So why am I watching this? Okay? If you're going to pick a cruiserweight, face the best. Or Don't face a world champ. Face somebody who's reputable, who actually fought some people, like Dorticos. Face him. That's the guy that Maris Brettis beat. Face him. No. He gonna cherry pick off and then dry the hell out. I do this now, done something for himself, and ain't really facing world-class opposition like that. Floyd would never do that, and y'all wouldn't have seen the end of that. They would have chewed him up. If they was chewing him up for Victor Ortiz, the Victor Ortiz fight, and Victor Ortiz beat Andre Berto, the undefeated Andre Berto, excuse me, came up in weight and beat Andre Berto. And people still to this day think that Victor Ortiz wasn't shit. Who the fuck is Makabu? Really, who the fuck is that? What did he do? What did he do that was so great? Became world champion against a guy in Africa for a vacant title? He beat nobody. Victor Ortiz at least beat Andre Berto. What the fuck? What's his name? David Benavidez. He beat Anthony Durrell when Anthony Durrell was actually a champion. He actually beat somebody. Who the fuck did this guy beat? Like, really? Who the fuck did he beat? Nobody. But Canelo's talking about to Beatrice Andre about who did you beat? Who did you beat? You beat nobody. Well, he beat more than that, dude. At least he beat what's the there's a bunch of them actually that he beat. Okay. He beat what the dude at 154. The guy actually dropped him. Fought Triple G as well. Also fought all the Charlos and everybody. Vanis Matarosian. At least he beat him. Vanis Matarosian. He beat a guy that gave Daniel Jacobs a good fight. What was his name? Forgot his name now. Eastern European dude. You know what I mean? And he outclassed that dude. But the point is, that's not what Floyd did. So don't come with the excuse, well, Floyd this, Floyd that. No, don't do that. Don't disrespect Floyd like that. Because Floyd never did shit like that. Never. Okay? And the thing about it is this comes from left field. Now, some people were saying that his trainer was saying he would go back down to 168 after the fight because he just want to make history. And he want to make history in Mexico, and it's going to be a Mexican fight. And they could pay this dude, you know, and all of that stuff. But it's really a stay busy fight. No matter what they say, it's a stay busy fight. It is nowhere on the level of a David Benavidez fight. Canelo versus David Benavidez is a much better fight and a much more difficult fight for both fighters. And that bullshit. That's bullshit. That's you trying to make history, then make it right. Which division did Floyd Mayweather ever go to where he was facing a Rocky fucking Fielding for a paper champion title, a secondary title? Which division did Floyd ever do that? And the answer is none. The only division where Floyd did not face the number one fighter, the only division, is junior welterweight, 140 pounds, where he faced Arturo Gatti instead of Costa Tszyu. And Arturo Gatti was a name in boxing, and obviously he's in the Boxing Hall of Fame for his fights with Mickey Ward. But he also was a damn good boxer, even though he was just fucking slow. Way slower than Floyd in that fight where Floyd butchered him. But the point is, he's a decent boxer. Okay? He did shit against Mickey Ward, and he beat him the next two fights. But, you know, Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti was a decent boxer. Okay? Right? And he actually beat some good names in boxing. I never really talked about him, especially his super featherweight days were spectacular. He's a very good super featherweight, undefeated as super featherweight, actually. But We'll talk about him some other time. And, Patterson's son, Floyd Patterson's son, he beat him. And Floyd Patterson's son was the champion, and he beat him. Anyway, that's a whole other story for another day. Stepson, by the way. Wang Cho says the first fight was extremely close. Was it Gennady Golovkin fights? Nope, that wasn't close. I had Canelo winning 9-3, just like Adelaide Bird. Gennady Golovkin did well in rounds 9, 10, I believe it was 6 or 7. All the rest of rounds, Canelo won those rounds easy. That was an easy fight for Canelo. Golovkin utilized a good jab, but didn't mix it up with any body shots or punch variation. If he had a good jab, then he would be able to mix it up with body shots. Because a good jab opens the door for everything. And we know Golovkin has a good jab, just that Canelo can counter that jab. And Canelo was just using Golovkin's touch jabs to bait him in. So he would throw power punches and miss. Canelo's a very good fighter. Very, very good fighter. He's limited, but he's a very, very good fighter. If only he could outbox as well as he could infight and fight at mid-range, he would be unbeatable. He would be like Jojo Diaz. But boxers give him all kinds of problems. Guys who have good footwork, good angles, they give him all kinds of problems. All kinds of problems. Because he himself, he's very economical with his footwork because he doesn't like moving his feet too much. He's like a James Toney kind of guy. He don't like moving his feet too much. So you got to be able to move your feet. And he don't really cut off the ring. Sometimes he cut off the ring, but he can't really cut off the ring because, again, his foot speed. He's got quick feet, but he don't move his feet much because it burns up too much energy, and you need to get his cardio up. Otherwise, if he could have outboxed, he'd stop some of them guys much sooner. They wouldn't be able to get away from him and all of that. And so he don't. So it is what it is. He's limited. But yeah, I went into this in detail because it's bullshit. And I'm being very honest when people say he followed the Floyd model. Now, Floyd is right now conducting Gervonta Davis's career very much like how Canelo's trying to move in that direction, which is Gervonta Davis not even facing nobody at lightweight, nobody at super featherweight. And there's some big names in super featherweight and big names in lightweight. He ain't facing nobody like that. He ain't even facing Rolly Romero, you know what I'm saying, which would have been intriguing. But I had Gervonta stopping Rolly Romero because, again, Romero's a big lightweight, but he's slow, right? I do think that Pitbull, though, will give him some challenges because unlike Rolly Romero, who could get outboxed and stuff, Pitbull bring the heat. He bring the pressure. Rolly don't really bring no heat, don't bring no pressure. He don't walk you down. He don't bring pressure. He's not a pressure fighter. Pitbull is a pressure fighter. So this will be interesting, to say the least. We know it's going to be nonstop action. Pitbull let his hands go. Okay. I don't see Pitbull really getting hit with a lot of shots. He stayed low. He let his hands go on shit. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what really goes on with Pitbull. Of course, it could be just the opposition that he's facing, where he really didn't get any resistance. He didn't get no punches coming back. And Tank's, that's what he do. He pick you off. So we'll see. But point is, in Tank's career, we expect Tank to face like Teofimo Lopez and these guys, and Tank be calling them out, but he's not even facing anybody like that. Like, he facing these names we never heard about. Now, Mario Barrios was a quality fighter and is a quality fighter. So I'm everybody who was in the business know Mario Barrios, okay, and know he was a quality fighter. So I'm not knocking the Mario Barrios fight, okay. However, what the fuck? Tank fighting everybody but the people in the respective divisions that we want to see him. And yeah, people like knockouts and they like sensational fighting and all that shit. And yes, some fighters need shine, but at the end of the day, you ain't facing the best. And you ain't facing the best. You didn't face Josh Taylor at 140. You didn't face Teofimo Lopez at 135. And fuck, you didn't face the guy that Oscar Vales knocked out, I can't remember his name, at 130. So you haven't faced the best. Okay, Oscar Vales did better than you, for crying out loud. And he'd be ducking Shakur Stevenson like the plague. Okay. Fans like interesting matchups. And Tank, you know, people say Tank's on the pound for pound list and all this bullshit because he fought in different weight classes. No, you have to face the best. You have to face the best before I can say, oh yeah, you up there in pound for pound. You have to face the best, and you're not facing the best. So I've been critical of Tank's career as well. So whether you want to talk about Canelo or Tank, face the best. You know, face the best out there and give us the biggest fights, because the shit that you doing ain't the biggest fights. Just saying. And that's what the OGs, like myself and otherwise, have been talking about with this generation. And they were saying Floyd started it, but Floyd didn't start it. Fighters been ducking fighters for a long time. And besides that, there's the perception of fighters be ducking fighters for a long time. All right. However, what I would say is the fighters today are more hesitant to match up with each other because they want to be like Floyd, but they don't understand Floyd was never hesitant to match up with the best. He never was. Never once. You could say it was Floyd's fault that he didn't face Pacquiao at the time. He tried to make the Pacquiao. Pacquiao turned him down. He wanted Shane Mosley a long time ago. When Mosley was ready, he was calling Floyd out. He wanted the Oscar fight a long time ago. It's when Oscar was ready, he made the Floyd fight happen. He wanted Ricky Hatton. He wanted Miguel Cotto. It's when Hatton started calling out Floyd, and Cotto actually made steps to make the fights happen. This is not the case with Canelo. So it's not the same. Okay? It ain't the same. When Marcus Maidana made a big storm, and Amir Khan wanted Floyd too. Amir Khan didn't do shit. He just sit on his laurels. Meanwhile, Marcus Maidana beat the shit out of Adrian Broner. So he got the fight instead of Amir Khan. Khan sit down waiting on a fight when he should have faced Devin Alexander. Then when he did face Devin Alexander, he dusted him. He should have done that. If you'd done that, you probably would have had the Floyd fight. Stupid, sit on your laurels. Waiting on a fight. You don't do that. But you know, Khan always there for the highest bidder. Now you're going to have the Brook fight. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. Floyd's career is not like Canelo's career. And no, I don't think Canelo's picking and choosing those guys that he faced just recently there. Those three guys were the top guys in the division. But he went through with it and became undisputed because he didn't have to face David Benavidez. He got a free belt. He didn't face David, and he should face David. Ethically speaking, he should face David because David never lost. And David was stripped of his title. So in essence, you should go and face David. Besides that, it's your first defense is undisputed. Defend your undisputed titles by facing that dude. Notice Teofimo Lopez didn't have his first successful defense either. Boxing, anything can happen, but it's for the prepared. It's for the ready. It's for the guys that don't underestimate other guys. That's what I'm saying. You know, people rate Tank very highly, and I do too. But until he faces Devin Haney, you know, the Ryan Garcias, the Camboses, and all them other guys, until he faces those guys, a lightweight, which is where he's at, because he's facing right now a lightweight who is not ranked anywhere near what those guys are ranked, it really does not matter. I'm what you need. That's all I have for now. Wang Cho, thanks for coming through. I'm a straight talker. I'm not one of them guys who value a fighter over. I love fighters. I love to watch fighters. Like Tank said, once I can learn something more for you, I like you. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I gotta tell the truth about things. You know, one of Floyd's faults was he gave you the fights, but he didn't always give you the fights when you wanted to see the fights as fight fans. And there you can fault him. You know what I mean? you can fault him for that. Anyways, man, I gotta go. I'm gonna catch you guys later. This is what you need. Getting out of the building. Peace, people.